Despite those who criticized him, Uncle Warren was encouraged by the strides he was making in other areas. Improvements throughout the state were obvious. Funding increased for education on all levels, both public and private. Teachers received equal pay. And the University of Missouri, his beloved alum, received a medical school and a multi-purpose building appropriately named the Hearnes Center.
With Governor Hearnes leading the way, state aid has been increased 50% to public schools, 100% to higher education, 350% to vocational education, and 450% to junior colleges. And mark this well, all this has been done with no increase in taxes.
He pushed for greater funding for schools. He pushed for greater funding for universities. He created new universities. He pushed in every way. Now, this was a guy who, by his own saying, had come out of a pool hall in southeast Missouri, but here he was pushing for education, and he did it very, very well.
He also worked to improve business, industry, and agriculture and tourism by bringing in over 100,000 manufacturing jobs, enacting a Medicaid program, and enforcing some of the state's first environmental pollution laws. In addition, he signed the first Missouri civil rights law, built a state highway patrol training academy, oversaw 350 miles of paved road construction, and brought care for the mentally ill out of the Dark Ages.
One of the pioneering things that Warren did in that first term in office was to create a series of regional mental health clinics in Missouri. It started to move Missouri away from the era where anyone with a mental illness was institutionalized, in effect thrown into a dungeon. It started to get us past that into a more enlightened age where it was treated the same way you would treat any physical ailment, and it could be treated close to home.
Uncle Warren's success in office was building him a national name. He was elected as president of 3 different governors' conferences and became known for his honesty and telling it like it was.
Warren was fearless. He would tell people exactly what he thought. He told Lyndon Johnson to quit showing his scar one time, and I never forget, Lyndon Johnson just hated him after that, and Warren says, "I don't care."
Uncle Warren's attitude catapulted his popularity, and it was rumored that he would run for the United States Senate. But the Senate race would pit him against his own lieutenant governor, Tom Eagleton. One late night, Eagleton stopped by the governor's mansion.
He and I went to the governor's mansion one night to discuss that. Eagleton had in the back of his mind that he would run against Senator Ed Long, who was vulnerable. But he assumed that, or presumed that Warren was going to run. Warren was very, very popular at that point, so he would have been a sure candidate had he wanted to. But that evening, we always call it the Port Swing Conference, Warren made clear to Eagleton that he didn't want to run for the Senate, and that he, Eagleton, should. In fact, really prodded him to, In fact, almost dared him to.
Eagleton ran and won. As promised, Uncle Warren once again ran for governor, and in 1968, he was the first governor in the state of Missouri to be elected to a second consecutive term.
Please repeat the oath after me. I, Warren E. Hearnes.
I, Warren E. Hearnes.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
And the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
And faithfully demean myself.
And faithfully demean myself.
In the office of Governor of the State of Missouri.
In the office of Governor of the State of Missouri.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Uncle Warren entered his second term with high aspirations of continued success. He'd accomplished more in his first term than perhaps any governor before him. But the accomplishments came with a price. Millions of dollars had been allocated to improve life all over the state. The people of Missouri were thriving, but the funds needed to be replenished, and no one wanted to pay. Uncle Warren proposed a tax increase.
Well, he said that you have to face up. You can't operate in the red. You have to operate in the black. And Missouri had spent money on education and mental health and all the other things. And there came a time when they were going to have some money. And he said that he was going to do it because you're not going to go backward in Missouri. The people beat it. He went back to the legislature with it and passed it again, which is very courageous.
Courageous because the tax increase came with overwhelming scrutiny from both the public and many of my uncle's legislative friends. The result was a legislature that met the rest of his time in office with much resistance. In addition, friends who had considered themselves responsible for his election the first term continued to ask for favors and appointments in the second.
There were a lot of people who took credit for the election of Warren Hearnes because, after all, he was the outsider who won. So when he got to be governor, everybody said, "Ha, it wouldn't have been for me, it wouldn't have been governor." And perhaps some of that is true. But then after he was in for 4 years, he decided that he was going to run the show.
The last 2 years, it seemed like our friends in the Senate wanted more and more. They would vote against us. They wanted more patronage. They wanted more this. They wanted more that. The legislation, it was very tough to pass.
While Aunt Betty worked to support the arts and complete a renovation of the deteriorating governor's mansion, Uncle Warren strived to make amends with the Senate. Years before, the state had held all funds in the Central Trust Bank, thus creating the establishment. So to prevent future inequalities of power, Uncle Warren promoted the allocation of state funds to other banks throughout the state. Although his intentions were good, many media outlets and former friends in the legislature questioned his motives. Rumors of mishandled funds began to swirl. Amidst the negative press, Uncle Warren tried to remain focused.
My 8 years as governor have been marked by numerous friendships here in the General Assembly with state and local officials and with citizens throughout our great state. The good experiences have far outweighed the bad, and I offer my deep thanks to those with whom I have served and my warmest wishes to those who now move forward with the heavy responsibilities of government. I've often been asked what this office I now leave has meant to me, and what advice I can offer to those who follow in the years to come. For my part, I can only say that all I have wanted from life has been given to me by the people of Missouri in 8 short but wonderful years. For my successors, I must advise that you cannot even dream of the ordeal to which you surely will be exposed. You will experience a sensitive shrinking from undeserved criticism, and this you must learn to control. You must fight within yourself the continual contest between a normal desire for public approval and your personal sense of public duty. Frequently, your motives will be impugned, and you will be subjected to the snares and sarcasms of ignorance and malice. To keep such incidents from affecting your thoughts and actions, and to retain your integrity, you must learn to bear the burdens unmoved and to walk steadily forward in the path of duty. You will be sustained only by the persistent thought that the time may do you justice, and that if it does not, that even your personal hopes and aspirations and your own good name are of little consequence when weighed against the welfare of a people whose destiny you are the constituted guardian and defender.